Hi everyone, here's a look at Detroit in the Pro Mazda. Showing my setup, but there's no need because it's just exactly the default high downforce set. Just moved 2 gallons of petrol. I've tried modifying the set around here. You end up just chasing one end or the other of the car and just put you out. I switched from a setup that I've been modifying quite extensively back to this one and found I was quicker with it, so I've just stuck with this for now. Lap times are 23.2, which isn't the best lap time I've done overall here in default, but is the best of this session, so we'll go with that. It's still a very competitive lap. This track's a hard one because you have to be absolutely in the groove to get the speed. If you are not in the groove and you're driving offline, missing apexes by a meter, which isn't even that far around here, you can lose seconds. And as you slowly get more and more comfortable with what the line is and with the car moving around, the time starts to slowly trickle to you. But the other problem here is driving conservatively. It's very easy to think that you're on a good lap, so you'll just stop pushing to conserve that lap, but you miss a corner or whatever, you're losing tenths and then you're down. I find the best way around here is just to continue to push through the lap. If you miss a corner earlier in the lap, just keep pushing because it can come back to you quite easily. 3 tenths down in the start of the lap, you can make that back up because you're more comfortable pushing flat out then, as you don't have much to lose. So get a good run out of the final corner coming up into turn 1. Now here I'm braking around the 200 meter marker, unless that's foot because this is America, the 200 marker. So you want to go down 1 gear. Now what's very important here is to get the car close to this inside apex. If you are too deep and you're bringing the car back to the right, then bringing it back to the left, you're going to be offline and you're going to lose half a second. So it has to get into this early apex. And on this lap, I actually didn't quite get it perfect. It's close to it, but I could have opened the line up a little bit more. There's, a bit of a gap there, but it was still competitive enough. So bring it in there, and you want to turn the car back in to the left-hand inside apex. Get hard in the throttle and run it out to the wall. What you find is if you miss this one, say you're about here, then you're turning in here from too narrow of an angle and you can't get the car turned enough, so you have to take a lot of speed off it or it pushes it wide on the exit. And also if you find yourself in the middle of the track, there's a lot of bumps which unsettles it, and then you just either oversteer or you're off into the wall, or you get out of the throttle and you lose a lot of speed. So into the inside apex, back to the left. It's okay if you get on the curb slightly. I had to do it a bit. I preferably don't, but because I wasn't quite online, because I missed that inside apex, I've taken a bit of curb in this one just to open the corner up, and it hasn't unsettled it. I don't usually like hitting the high curbs, which they are in this car, but around there you've just really got to open the line. I'm holding the throttle, am I holding it full over here? You've just got to really put a lot of small throttle adjustments in here just to keep it in line. I'm just trying to keep the front end behaved, and I'm holding it flat over the bump. The car can sometimes just catch you out if you do it, but if you're on a more neutral line because you've hit both apexes, it doesn't tend to. Now you're braking around the 200 marker, down in the third. You can take second, but third's fine. You do not want to bash this inside curb. So the car's coming on its trajectory and just touching the inside of it, perfect, then getting hard in the throttle and pushing the car out. I maybe could have even been a bit more aggressive through there, but it was fine. Now coming up through here, you're wanting to go down into third. Front wheel has to get through there, and you can really throw the car because the corner you kind of push past the apex, you're not hugging the apex, so you're more or less like straight lining out then bringing it back, so you're throwing it at that curb. Using a lot of track hard in the throttle. Now you're bringing it straight back to the right. Now you're down one gear on here, and you're entering, and you're taking a delayed apex. So you want to clip it here, and you do not want to get on the curb. Now that's not to say if you get on the curb, your lap's ruined. You can sometimes hit it, and continue on with very little effect, but it can also bounce the car out to the outside wall. So I'm getting about as close to it as I want. I'm sort of skimming close to the bottom of the curb, and then getting hard back on the throttle. And getting to the outside of the track. Now you're wanting to turn in quite aggressively at this corner. Now, because the car's bumping, you're putting a decent amount of steering lock on it, but it's still kind of, it's not properly turning because the front end's not gripping the road, just bouncing around it. And because of that, it sort of understeers past the corner, and you go out and then you get a lot of grip out of here and bring it back in. If you're really pushing it, sometimes you put so much steering lock that you're basically aiming for the wall in and knowing the car will bounce. I don't like doing that. I think it's getting a bit too close. It's okay if you miss it by a touch, but you don't want to be too far offline. Yeah, so that was probably still, what, half a metre off the apex. And the car's gone out here and it's picked up good grip on the rear. Now you're wanting to keep sort of tight to the right through here. There's just minimising track distance, then go back to the left. Sort of hug this wall as you're coming up to the apex. I am going up in the 6th. You don't really need to. I just do it because I feel it's a 3 downshift corner. Now as earlier in the lap, you're wanting to downshift into 3rd and bring it close to this inside curb here. And you're braking sort of before the 200 metre marker. Yeah, braking well before it. Get in there. And then the second you hit this apex, you have to get hard back on the throttle and launch the car out. It's very easy, to, like I said, to be lethargic and just let it sort of settle. You can't really drive this track smoothly. You've got to really push the car. So hit it and hard back on the throttle, pushing it towards the wall and just knowing it'll turn. Now, you're getting to this inside wall, and I'm going to go down the second, but I'm not going to turn it directly into the apex because I find the inside's a bit bumpy and it tends to push it to the outside wall when the front end hits the bumps. So I'm down the second, turning in kind of late, not really bothering the early apex. Actually, I don't really think it's particularly bothering either of the apexes. Yeah, it's not. And as the car's sort of taking that slightly wider line, you're wanting to immediately get back on the throttle. So it's turning, and I'm sort of pushing hard on the throttle as quickly as I can get on it. The car's still sort of understeering with and unsettled with the bumps, but you're getting back on the throttle just to give the rear end some grip. It will just give it a bit of weight transfer over the rear and shoot out of the corner a bit better. So immediate slight throttle here, just gripping it up, pushing it out. And wanting to kind of take a bit of a wider apex through here. This is the one that there's not really a classical line into the corner because you're really wanting to set up the apex over here. So you're not wanting to go out too wide. So I'm kind of bringing it into the apex, just kind of running mid-track. I find that's adequate off the throttle. Now bringing it back. Now you have to get this inside curb. This is another one of the ones, if you miss the inside curb, you're compromised for the whole track. Sorry about that. So you're hugging tight to the inside to really open the corner up. Now I'm braking and not unsettling the car. If you swing it from really far out wide, the car has a bit too much momentum on the front end. The back will just start to wiggle a little bit. And once you've got that wiggle on, it's probably just going to put you into that wall, or you're going to have to catch it and go straight and you're off the corner. So you're just kind of keeping a tight line down in here into first. I do like to go into first. Now I'm not going to trouble this apex too much because there's too many bumps at it. If you hit that, it can really bounce the car and spin it. So I'm kind of just missing it on purpose. I'm aiming for roughly around here with the front right wheel, so miss the worst of the bumps, just keeping out that little gutter. Then applying the throttle to get it out. Now you're going really close to that outside wall when you're applying the throttle. Yeah, that really close to the outside wall, but you kind of can't really worry about it too much. Like, you just got to drive the track and you know the walls are there, but when you get into the rhythm, you're not sort of worried about hitting them so much. And that works well right into the moment you clip them. So get out of that corner good, because I got on the throttle and it pushed the car out a bit. Now this is probably the big danger spot in this track, although the whole track's really a danger spot, but this is one of the big danger spots. You're wanting to brake, in my opinion, around the 200 meters, maybe a little bit before it, and you really want to get the apex. So I'm not downshifting, it's staying in fourth, and I'm throwing the car into here. And once I hit the apex, you're getting hard on the throttle. Now the car at that point is still understeering towards the outside wall, but you just got to believe that the front end will grip and turn it and not hit it. And then on the second bit of the corner, I'm not lifting, I just turned it in and it turned that corner okay. And from there on in, you're just taking the tight line through here to minimise the track, and that's over the finish line. It's a 23.266, which I felt was a pretty solid lap around here. I'm curious just how close it got to that outside wall there, because although the car is still understeering towards the wall, you're sort of not particularly worried about it because you're already kind of moving your attention into the line that's taking into the next corner. Because at this point, this bit's done, you're kind of focusing more up ahead. Yeah, so it left a little bit of room. And as you can see, it's just bumping through the whole track. The car never feels particularly planted, like you can't smoothly feel the front end and where it's going to be. It's just bumping over every bit of the track. I don't know if I love this track. It's a challenge. It's different. Those are things people like. The layout's interesting, but the amount of bumps in the track, it's probably for a car that has a bit more damping built for this sort of thing. The races are going to be chaos, but to extract the maximum of it over one lap, I do think it's quite a challenge, and when you get it right, it's rewarding. Here's a lap in full speed.